And my theory is 99% of Virginians would say that the district is Virginia, and you don't need made-up districts drawn by someone with an obvious political motive to manipulate things for their benefit.
Virginia's election maps are drawn by a 16-member bipartisan commission every 10 years.
So this shows the massive power that the Democrats and Republicans have. There's no secret, and they call it fair when it's bipartisan, when it's both of them and nobody else involved. Just 60% of the population at best getting together and dominating power. Think about this entire thing is the entire argument is over the power of drawing the district. That is powerful. No one's disagreeing. That can manipulate everything. And then who's in control of that? The Republican Party and the Democrat Party. And we call that fair. That's the problem, our two-party machine. Instead of saying Republicans and Democrats should decide what we want, we should decide what we want.
No to 1.6 million voters in their state. No to a last-ditch attempt at parity, fairness, and justice.
1.6 million that voted for the redistricting, divided by the total number of adult citizens in Virginia, is 24%. So yeah, 24% don't get to decide what's happening. But they do, because we have voter supremacy. We have people that believe voters should be heard and not people who don't vote. That's the key to elected representation. You measure actual representation, not the number of voters that voted. If 5 people vote and 3 voted for it, that doesn't mean that the world thinks this is a good idea. This is not the people. We're conflating the people with voters. And that is voter supremacy. When you genuinely say, if you are not a voter, you should not be listened to. What he said, 24% should override the Constitution even of Virginia. But they shouldn't even be making any decisions. 24% is not enough. If we were using measured representation with one-to-one representation, we would know that. He would know it. He wouldn't be able to say that because everyone would know, oh, 24%. But we hide this factor right here, this number, the total adult citizens. Divide every vote by the adult citizens of that region. That's the RQ. 24% in this case.
What a novel idea, giving the voters a say in all this, in how districts are drawn, how maps are drawn, in who represents them. The voters saying, the voters.
Right, the voters. 24% of voters should be heard, not the 76% that did not support this. So Chris Hayes has clearly stated he is a voter supremacist. If you don't vote, you don't even enter the conversation. You're not on his radar. You don't count. You're no longer a human that we're counting. He is literally saying that voters should decide. So when you hear someone say that, voters should decide, that means a small microfaction should rule over the rest of that group of people. Voters should decide is absolute voter supremacy. Voters should not decide anything. The people, the members, the citizens, the students, whatever the members of the organization, they should decide for themselves what they want. And that's it. They're speaking on their own behalf. That's it. They shouldn't decide in that they make other people do things. They are deciding what to say, not what other people should do. We need to hear what people want. And you know what people are going to say? They don't want anyone drawing any districts. That doesn't make any sense. If Virginia has 11 congressional districts, each citizen of Virginia should elect their representative. Then we take the person with the most votes, they get in, the second most votes, third most, all the way to the 11th most votes. The top 11 candidates are in, and the rest did not make the cut. You just don't have that many representatives allotted for this state. So there would be no districts. If the people could decide, they would say, no, we don't need any districts. What about a city here and there? They represent themselves as a city. What about the country? People represent themselves. When we're choosing our representative, we allow each individual to choose who they want. That's it. It's done. We respect that. So that's how you would do one-to-one representation with the idea of a federation like we have in the United States. If there are 11 spots, you take the top 11 people. There would be none of these lines. None of these lines at all. The line that we're talking about is here, Virginia. That's the district that you're representing. Virginia. Virginia is the district. And my theory is 99% of Virginians would say that the district is Virginia, and you don't need made-up districts drawn by someone with an obvious political motive to manipulate things for their benefit. How about you let Virginians decide who should represent Virginia? That's one-to-one representation. We're electing and we're measuring it.